This conference will now be recorded.
Hello, everybody. Jordan Girth here with the National Weather Service Office of Observations. Thank you so much for joining us for the Satellite Book Club Seminar Series. This is session number 167. The title of today's presentation, the TOWR RPM version 24 Spotlight. Glad to have some of our own with us today, Emily Maddox and John Evans from our TOWR-S team. That stands for Total Operational Weather Readiness for Satellites. It's a great team of contractors. Following the presentation, we'll have some discussion facilitated by Andy Just, the Techniques Development Meteorologist with Central Region Headquarters. As you just heard, this session is being recorded. There will be an opportunity for Q&A after the presentation. And if you have not signed in with your full name, please note your name when asking a question in the chat. We will field the questions in the order they are asked. We're always looking for future presenters. Please contact the TOWR-S team. That's Kashad Bowman and Emily Maddox, if you would like to participate. And if you're looking for training materials, Ross Van Til, the Office of the Chief Learning Officer, can help with that. I'd like to thank our TOWR-S team, Kashad, Emily, the Office of the Chief Learning Officer, the GOES-R JPSS program, our facilitator, and all of you for being with us each and every week as part of the Satellite Book Club. Without further ado, let me formally introduce Emily and John. Emily Maddox is the TOWR-S Lead Meteorologist. She received her bachelor's and master's in atmospheric science from the University of North Dakota. After graduating, she became the level 2 product validation coordinator with the Landsat program in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. She had supported the NAWIPS to AWIPS Migration project in September of 2022 and joined the TOWR-S team in April 2023. Joining her is John Evans, who supports the National Weather Service Office Observations to streamline forecaster access to satellite products. He previously worked for the Joint Polar Satellite System and has led numerous projects with NASA, NOAA, and others, emphasizing open, scalable, and interoperable data systems. We're glad to have Emily and John with us for today's Satellite Book Club. Take it away.
Thank you. Sound check, can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Okay. All right. So this is the day in which we are, I guess, unveiling the new bundle of configurations known as TOWR-S RPM version 24. It's been in some degree of testing with a variety of friendly test sites, and we're very grateful for the effort that has gone into the development so far. We'll talk about that a little more on the next slide. So a little bit of background. We sort of showed these slides. You've probably seen this slide before when we presented prior TOWR-S RPMs, but just to make sure everyone is on the same page, an RPM is a Red Hat package manager, and this is essentially a bundle of files that allow us to bring updates out to user sites a little faster than the baseline cycle for AWIPS, development cycle for AWIPS, to streamline the development of new capabilities and support new products. The TOWR-S RPM content is really, it takes a village, so to speak. A lot of the things you'll see here are based on input from the user community, sometimes through evaluation processes involving end users and developers. Some of them have arisen out of Satellite Book Club presentations and the subsequent discussions. So, as mentioned earlier, the RPMs go through extensive testing and early evaluation with OPS Proving Ground, regional focal points, and other groups mentioned here at the bottom of the slide, OCLO, NCF, OPPSD, and others. So it really is a group effort, and we're grateful for all the participation that we've enjoyed in developing this RPM. On the next slide, a little bit more of a description about what's in these TOWR-S RPMs. Essentially, they consist of new or modified AWIPS configuration files, configuring EDEX to handle new products previously not recognized, and configuration for Cave to display things, to display different menu entries, bundles, attributes, etc. File types are typically a bunch of XML files, some vector graphics files, a few Python scripts perhaps for derived parameters, some color maps, and so on. This particular RPM also includes the AWIPS preprocessor affectionately known as the app. And in particular, it provides the capability for individual sites to construct the Sierra GeoColor product and the 5-minute GLM accumulations from data that's already coming in, so that that data does not have to be sent separately, redundantly, in addition to the ingredients. The app can take the ingredients and prepare the GeoColor and the 5-minute product from these data. It's worth mentioning that, as with all of these the RPMs, these change or add files only at the site level. Site level files override the baseline but don't change the baseline AWIPS configuration, so they're reversible if needed. It's also worth mentioning that these RPM updates are cumulative, so everything you see in v24 includes a lot of content from v23, etc. In some cases, an RPM may also remove some content that's obsolete, either because the data aren't being produced anymore, or this feature has become part of the AWIPS baseline and no longer needs to be added on through an RPM. So because it's cumulative, if you missed v23, don't worry about it, install v24. It will give you everything that was in v23 and more. Specifically on this RPM, the next slide, we'll get into some of the specifics of what's in this v24 RPM. A number of changes to the menus that are accessible through the Cave workstation. In particular, some menu items for VIIRS imagery, making it clear what is available through these menu entries. There's now 3 JPSS satellites producing imagery accessible in AWIPS. And so these the structure is more or less what it was, but the labeling is different. We've also renamed the legacy GOES menu entries to GOES 14 instead of GOES 15. We've removed some menu items for some GOES imagery that is no longer being produced or distributed, the Hawaii sector, and 4 bands of the Puerto Rico sector imagery. And finally, there's some products that are not being distributed, and there aren't any current plans to distribute them through operational mechanisms, the satellite broadcast network in particular. So for now, we've hidden those menus until they are more widely available. This applies particularly to sites in the CONUS region. Slide 5 gives us a brief view of the satellite menu, where most of these changes are applied. And you see variants available to the CONUS, the 4 CONUS regions, as well as the Alaska and Pacific region. By and large, obviously, a lot of similarities, but a few things are different. For example, Alaska and Pacific have a lot more GOES West detail. What are some other things? Anyway, you can peruse this and see what to expect on this main satellite menu. Slide 6, we'll look at some of the additional contents of this RPM. Mentioned earlier, the AWIPS preprocessor, the app. This is, in essence, a small bundle of software that runs alongside AWIPS that can do things with incoming data products and can automate the configuration of the site, particularly the fetching of data over LDM. So, as mentioned earlier, we can each site can now produce the Sierra GeoColor imagery product from these 5 channels here, 1, 2, 3, 7, and 13. Here's a view of what that looks like. It can also accumulate from the 1-minute GLM grids coming in over SBN, accumulate the 5-minute summaries for flash extent density, etc. So those will no longer need to be sent separately to sites once this app has been is more widely available. And finally, I believe this will simplify the installation process, the installation configuration process for the subsequent RPMs. The app is able to adjust some LDM PQ Act entries that govern which data get fetched over SBN or over LDM. And we'll see a few more slides on the new and changed products that are supported by this RPM, cloud cover layers, the blended snowfall rate, a few changes to the polar blended hydro product. And I guess we don't have a slide on this WPC excessive rainfall outlook, but that was actually doesn't have much to do with satellite data. But the Office of Central Processing, the AWIPS team, asked if we could include an update that they would like to push out to the menus for this product. and so they're choosing to use the RPM mechanism for that. The next slide is the first of these new products that just became available, I guess, a couple weeks ago over the SBN, the GOES-R Cloud Goes East and West Cloud Cover Layers. This provides a fractional cloud cover at each pixel within each of these 5 different flight levels. Surface to 050, which means 5,000 feet elevation.
Yep. Okay, I put the image on the Word file.
Whoop. Might want to mute your microphone.
Okay.
So the cloud cover layers can be displayed here. Here we have the multicolored image is a rendering of all 5 layers at once using these somewhat complex color codes. And then the blue and white layers are each of the 5 layers sequentially. The pixel resolution for this is 10 kilometers and for the full disk in the CONUS and 4 kilometers at the meso. And then initially, as of about a month ago, this product was going to be hourly, not only for the full disk, but also for CONUS. But after some discussions with the Indiana CWSU in particular and others, it became clear that a 5-minute cadence would be much more useful for the CONUS sector. And so we were able to push through that change, and it's now available at a 5-minute cadence, 12 per hour for CONUS as well as meso. And here we're seeing the goes east and west CONUS sectors combined in this view. The next slide, slide 8, depicts the new snowfall rate product, mostly based on polar orbiting, I guess the ATMS sensor on the JPSS satellites. There's also a blended or merged snowfall rate that pulls in, I believe, radar and MRMS ingredients as well to produce this merged snowfall rate product. So you'll find that it's being served up over LDM and is available through the menu described here at the bottom of the slide. Many thanks to the team at Sport and WFO Huntsville, as well as Juan Meng at STAR for their contributions to this product and to making it available. Slide 9 is really kind of a detail, but the polar blended hydro products, rain rate, total precipitable water, and rain and TPW anomalies. Those are a blend of multiple polar orbiting satellites, and the picture at bottom right here, well, let me back up. The picture at top left depicts, in this case, the total precipitable water, TPW, over this region. But then AWIPS also allows you to show which satellite produced each of these estimates, and that's the picture, the larger picture at the bottom right. So you see these stripes showing the swaths of overpass. Previously, AWIPS did not recognize a couple of newer satellites, MEDOP-C and NOAA-21 in particular. And so instead of getting a satellite name, you just get the code number. So you get 103 instead of MEDOP-C. So AWIPS, starting with this new RPM, will properly recognize the newer MEDOP-C satellite and the upcoming NOAA-21 contributions to this blended polar product series. Slide 10 depicts the improvements to the way that CAVE handles and displays VIIRS imagery. In particular, you can see if you kind of study these two pictures a little bit better, you'll notice the top one has a lot of overlap between successive swaths of the VIIRS sensor, and the bottom view kind of deconflicts or shows smaller timestamps, essentially what it is, smaller time intervals, allowing us to remove most of the overlap between successive swaths and really get the most out of having multiple satellites flying over the same area. So many thanks are due to Bill Line for suggesting this change. And there's a few other additional changes in the RPM for better handling of this VIIRS imagery, particularly important now that we have 3 different JPSS satellites providing imagery. Additional configurations that we actually don't have depictions for. In the gridded new caps, there was a bug in the way that the lapse rates from gridded new caps are being displayed, and so that's now fixed. There's some additional customizations specific to the Alaska region for some additional products that they're fetching. And then we mentioned earlier the experimental days 4 and 5 extreme rainfall outlook. The menu was sort of mislabeling what that provides, and now it's sort of rectified in the new RPM. Slide 11 depicts another thing that we had been kind of tinkering with for some time. I guess it goes 17 is now in its so-called storage slot at 105 longitude west. It's not actively producing data, but it could if necessary. And so this RPM provides support for imagery coming from that storage slot, some additional menu entries there. And depicted here is what goes east and goes west look like from that center spot in between the two satellite subpoints. And that's most of what's in there, not everything. There's a few additional details. If you want a full manifest, we can provide that. But those are the key highlights visible to end users. Slides 12 and 13 are just a reminder of the things that have been carried over from the previous RPM v23. Some additional support for additional data products, support that's not yet in the AWIPS baseline, and so we're still carrying it in this new RPM that we introduced and described earlier. So additional product support, additional features and capabilities. I'm happy to answer. We're happy to answer questions on this if there are additional questions. But so this is just a part of these RPMs being cumulative, as we described earlier. And that takes us to slide 14. How do you obtain this and install it? And for that, I'll throw over to Emily, who has already been quite involved in this process and will be your sort of front line for that.
Thanks, John. First, I would like to thank the about 24 sites that have been involved with testing the app, these new capabilities over the past year. With this RPM, we have enhanced the installation instructions, so we want to make sure that we're taking additional time for each of the sites. So we've switched over to scheduling times for installations. And you can contact myself and Lee through email. You can contact through Google Chat or in the TOWR-S Slack channel. We're setting up these scheduled times, but we're also very flexible. So even if we have a set up scheduled time to do the installation, it can be changed as needed, even on short notice. We know that everybody gets busy, so we're here to support you and are very flexible. We do anticipate the installation to be about 1 hour, and we recommend doing it at a time where it will be okay to bounce edX. Right now, we are prepped for CONUS, and the Alaska region and Pacific region are coming next. After our deployment, we will be making sure that it is available for cloud AWIPS. But the current way to get installed is to contact me and Lee. So slide 15 moves us into questions.
All right, thank you, John, and thank you, Emily. So, yes, I'd like everybody here to still stay on. We encourage, participation here from both, field offices, anybody on that might be from a regional headquarters. Feel free to post your messages in chat. You should see in the chat right now a link to the presentation that was delivered today. So, does anybody have any opening questions to start? I mean, I'm glad, Emily, you had your slide there was. I was gonna ask about why this one's different from past. That we used to have just a VLab announcement of, hey, there are new RPMs available, and go on your merry way and just install. But this one, you're having to do a little bit more. A schedule and process, so but it's just probably just from a function it's a little bit more involved. I mean, I don't think it's as much for the I guess maybe can you give a preview of what the site might have to do for this RPM versus, you know?
So for the most part, we do have the same updates for like color maps and everything that John had on, I think, slide 3. But we have some additional configurations to set up, making sure that everything is set up correctly, that they're not bringing in any data twice. So it'll just be, you know, we go through things. We want to sit down with the sites one-on-one as we go through things, especially as we get to the steps that are a bit different, and then help them check things out to make sure that, you know, there's no duplicate data coming in and everything is set up to run as smoothly as possible.
That's awesome. Very cool. Very cool. And you know, me personally, I'm very excited about this RPM. Looks like I got an echo. Let's see if there's a reason for that.
I think somebody joined. It says waiting for name. Oh, they went off mute.
Okay. So yeah, I'm just very excited about this personally. You know, I serve as a regional data flow provider for Central Region, and this new RPM allows me to remove the GLM entirely. We got to remove the 1-minute GLM once it went on the SBN, but now I'll be able to remove even the 5-minute for LDM. So that's great. And then the, you know, Sierra GeoColor can come off as well, and that just saves me and the individual offices some extra bandwidth. And certainly we have new experimental data sets that we want to get on, whether it's the national blend or other items. You know, the MRMS have just recently put on some experimental data there. So yeah, much appreciated with all this work that that the TOWR-S group has done.
Thanks.
All right, I'm gonna open up here and oh, sorry.
If people have questions about the RPM, the content or anything, feel free to contact us as well. In the TOWR-S Slack channel, we have a thread that's been going through and highlighting, you know, the primary things that the forecasters will be using and care about the most. Of course, there's a lot of background tasks that have to be done, but we have an overview of a lot of different products in there, and you're welcome to contact us with any questions that you have.
Thank you. We've got, I hope I don't do bad with the name here. Jarrell Torres says, I'll make sure to direct NWS users to Emily and Lee with the latest RPM version 24. I know WFO Cheyenne expressed an interest in accessing the SFR, MSFR data. All right. Any other questions out there at this time? Certainly have time. No, it was pretty quiet. I know from me, from also thinking on put my regional hat on because of this install. It's you know, I think on the AWIPS side, when we have to do an AWIPS build install, usually there's some coordination with your regional AWIPS focal point, and then they throw it on a calendar or something. So I'm just trying to make sure I get the word announcement out correctly for this. Maybe I'll just send a broader email then to our sites to say, hey, reach out to Emily and that to schedule this and look for, again, that 1 hour 1 hour time frame to do it.
Yeah, that's completely fine. You're welcome to CC me on any emails or, you know, throw my contact information out there if people have any questions or would like to schedule a time to install.
Sounds good. All right, got a question here from Dan Lindsay, who I've coordinated with a few times, and it's going right to the GeoColor item. He said, sorry if I missed this, but WFOs who install this RPM will no longer need to pull GeoColor via LDM. Is that correct?
Yep, that is correct.
right, that's all I have for the questions here. So I do want to make sure. Oh, okay, Dan did say great. Let me know when I can turn off the cron. So that's good. We'll probably just once we get all the sites installed, then we'll pull off. So while I wait for any additional questions, I do want to mention here so that if you do have any feedback from today's session, we'll post an item here in chat here for the feedback as a short survey. There's the chat right now, so you can just click on that form and again just fill it out quickly. Also, a week from today, on November 9th at noon Eastern time, Laurel McCoy, who's a lead meteorologist from the Weather Service Office in Omaha, site OAX, will discuss a case study from the December 15th, 2021 event, which I presented on actually a few weeks ago. So I'm pretty excited to see that and what she has to present. Also encourage, or not encourage, but I mean just to contact the TOWR-S team here if you have any questions about the Satellite Book Club or for configuration of satellite products. The email addresses and the contacts, they're listed on your screen. And I think that's all I have. No other questions out there. So I will pass it back.
All right, well, thank you so much, Andy, and thank you so much, Emily and John, for your presentation today. And thanks to all of our TOWR-S team that is behind this effort. I hope sites will take action to get version 24 installed, and look forward to seeing the use of some of these new additions in the field offices. So information to contact the TOWR-S team is up there on the screen. Please don't hesitate to get in touch. Find us on Slack, get in touch with us via email, and get in touch with us again next week as part of the Satellite Book Club seminar series as we continue. So with that, we'll leave it there for today. Remember about your clocks this weekend, and we'll see everybody again next Thursday. Take care, everybody.